to buy a bike, there are multiple options. To a point where it is confused. Choice of bike for some people is about brand. For some people, it is about looks. For some people, it is about speed. Today, the bike we are going to talk about falls into none of those categories. From a company that sells adventure and the Himalayas instead of a product, we have the Royal Enfield Himalayan.
The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 is clearly a clean sheet product and not a cosmetic update. The focus is on functional clarity rather than visual drama. This is very clearly visible by the bold stance of the bike, the design of the tank, the larger wheels, and how everything comes together in a harmonious way. From the front view, the motorcycle looks upright and balanced. The symmetry around the headlamp and the forks creates a calm, planted stance. There is very little visual clutter, which helps the bike feel a lot more approachable rather than aggressive. This is an important aspect to this bike because people will use this as a daily rider. The side profile is where the Himalayan 450 truly shines. The tank line and the seat profile reinforce long distance comfort and functional riding posture. The way the exhaust points up and the minimal tail section prevents the bike from looking rear heavy. The tank to seat transition is smoother and more ergonomic than before. There's a very deliberate front to rear visual flow from the front wheel to the beak, to the tank, to the seat, and then to the tail rack. Nothing feels abrupt or unresolved. This is a very well balanced bike in the side view. The round LED headlamp blends brand identity with modern function. It's restrained, timeless, and avoids unnecessary styling complexity. Finally, the switchgear shows clear attention to usability. It is large, well spaced, and glove friendly. Also has good tactile differentiation. Overall, the Himalayan 450 feels deliberately designed, functional, and built to age well rather than chase trends.
Now let's talk about the engine. It has a 452cc engine that puts out a peak power of 40 bhp and a peak torque of 40 Nm. The interesting aspect of this engine over the predecessor is the fact that this engine is an over-squared engine. Now what does that mean? The 410 Himalayan had a longer stroke length compared to its bore. This Himalayan has slightly bigger bore compared to the stroke length. The current Himalayan, the 450, can rev to higher speeds and stay there for longer. The previous Himalayan would put out more torque at lower RPMs. Now this Himalayan has its peak torque at about 5500 RPM, which is right about your mid-range. This will make you feel like there is a lot of torque at cruising speeds. You don't have to rev the engine to get more power or more torque out. So that is the major benefit with this engine compared to its predecessor. All in all, this bike has very good torque at the mid-range, decent power that will allow you to get to 80 to 120 kph and cruise at those speeds on the highways. And this is complemented with a 6-speed gearbox. Now the gearbox is something that you might need some time to get used to. The bike has slip and assist clutch, which means I would expect a smoother clutch feel. Turns out the clutch is more hard than what I had expected. The combination of engine and gearbox is such that you have to be gentle and calm on your ride. If you are someone who is in a hurry, you will see that the upshifts are a lot more louder than you would expect. The downshifts are not precise. The way to ride this engine and gearbox is to understand that you have to get to a speed in a linear fashion, calm yet fast, and then stay there. The rider ergonomics is very comfortable on the bike. The handlebars are raised a bit, and when I reach out to the handlebars, I'm not bending too much. The placement of the footbed is so comfortable and apt that I can either move front and back, stand up, sit down. All of this while not touching the handlebars. On most street bikes or street nakeds, you see that the angle of the knee here is more acute. It will be somewhere like this. But this is at a comfortable position that allows you to go for longer rides without having moving. The seat is also very comfortable. It is not too soft, but just stiff enough such that you don't face any irritation over longer ride. The seat is also long enough for you to move front and back. And the placement of the footped complements the ergonomics so well that you can even sit on the rear seat. For a bike that weighs 200 kilos, this bike is fairly agile. At lower speeds, it does not feel like it needs a lot of steering corrections. If you're someone who's ridden the Interceptor before, you'll see that at lower speeds, you have to correct the bike a lot. This bike is fairly stable at lower speeds and at higher speeds. For the weight it carries, it is fairly nimble. Don't get me wrong, this is not a bike that you throw into corners and expect it to stick. However, this bike is something that you can gradually push into corners, understand what it is capable of, and then carry those speeds. In the city and on the highways, the effort required to push the bike around is very little. Comparing this with the previous Expulse, the Expulse required a lot more effort to maneuver in the city. This has wider handlebars, which makes it slightly tricky to maneuver in the city, but the effort required is not all that much. The bike can turn into and out of corners fairly easily, can carry good cornering speeds, and overall is a lot more predictable. The best complement to the powertrain, which is the engine and the drivetrain, are the brakes. One of the best part of this vehicle are the brakes. While the engine can help you get to higher speeds and stay there, when the chassis and the suspension can work in a way where it will help you maintain higher speeds without having to slow down for bumps and potholes. The aspect of this vehicle that improves the safety of the vehicle to a good standard is the brakes. The bite is excellent. Well, it does dive before it can decelerate. That is common with most bikes that are heavy, have a high CG, and fit for adventure touring. So definitely there will be dive before it can decelerate. But the deceleration that develops after that is predictable, strong, and the feedback from the levers are also good. That is one aspect that is very well done. Now moving on to the rear brake, I'll have to get onto the vehicle to explain this. This is a small miss in ergo. When you are in your normal riding position, you'll realize that you're tapping on the rear brakes all the time, because of which you will accelerate the pad wear on the rear brakes. Now this is bad. This can get to a point where you have heat fade on the rear brakes as well. Now there is a simple hack to this. One way is to point your toes outward. The second way, which is of my preference, is to keep the foot such that the balls of the foot are on the foot peg itself. Now this might take some time getting used to, and when you're on the highway, you have to be conscious that you have to get on the brakes in case of emergency. But with time, you'll realize this is not that difficult. Overall, you have excellent front brakes, good rear brakes, which along with the engine braking, complements the front brakes very well. Now let's talk about the comfort, starting off with the front suspension. When the world has to slow down for the bumps and potholes of Bangalore, the Himalayan does not have to. You can take most bumps, potholes and rough roads without worrying about the damage it can cause to your bike. Oftentimes, you'll see me sending it everywhere. Now that is the kind of confidence the front suspension gives. There is good isolation from undulations on the road, and the bigger 21-inch wheels complement the long travel suspensions. Now, coming to the rear suspension. The rear suspension has a bell crank mechanism. Now, what does that mean? There is a 4-bar linkage mechanism which will ensure that the rear suspension travels more than it normally would. Now, the front suspension has longer travel, because of which there is, let's say, 150 to 200 mm of travel that you would see at the wheel. Now, the same amount of travel has to be there at the rear as well. If not, you'll see a lot of pitching that happens on the vehicle. Now, the rear suspension poses a specific issue where, because of the packaging restriction that is there at the rear, where the wheel has to travel a lot, but so does the spring. The more you push the spring forward in order to better package it, the lesser the spring travel you'll have. To solve this problem, the bell crank mechanism is one of the most efficient ways. Now, the travel is matched front and rear, and it feels like both the suspensions are in sync, and it does not feel like either the front or the rear is a bottleneck at times. They manage to complement each other well. Now, this gives great balance to this vehicle. Well, that is about the suspensions and how it adds to comfort. Now, the next major contribution to comfort comes from the seat itself. The seat has a bit of stiffness at the front and at the rear. The center is slightly soft, but it is not soft enough to a point where you start having irritations very soon. You can spend a lot of time on the saddle without facing a lot of irritation. The rear seat, however, is slightly different, where the cushioning on the rear seat is way softer than what you'd see on the front, which means while the rider can do a lot more time on the saddle, the pillion will face irritation issues, because of which you'll have to take breaks in the middle. For somebody who's riding solo, this is an excellent machine to munch miles. The chassis, the engine, the comfort, because of the suspension and the tires, do a brilliant job in making this happen.
The bike costs around 3.9 lakhs on road in Bengaluru. The bike gives me a mileage of 25 kmpl in the city and about 30 kmpl on the highways. The service cost was around 2000 rupees for the first service, and it will cost you around 4 to 6,000 rupees thereafter. This is subject to the parts that are being changed, and parts are slightly expensive compared to the other vehicles that are there. Here are 5 things we love about this motorcycle. Number 1, you don't buy the bike, you buy into a family. You buy into freedom. Number 2, the design is beautiful and will definitely age well. Number 3, the chassis and suspensions are class apart. Number 4, the comfort for highway cruising is excellent. Number 5, the rich accessories that are available adds to the overall beauty of this bike. Here are 5 things we hate about this motorcycle. Number 1. I was expecting better refinement from the engine. Number 2. This bike can be slightly expensive to maintain. Number 3. Difficulty in parking the bike in city conditions. Number 4. The Google Map implementation that could have been better. Number 5. The rare brake lever positioning that can lead to faster brake wear. Who should buy this bike? This bike is for someone who wants a one bike garage, who loves covering distances on the highway. Who should not buy this bike? This bike is not for serious solo off-roading, as the bike is heavy, and for amateurs and especially shorter people like myself, it can get tricky at times.
Henny's Garage was started with an intent to help racers go faster around the racetrack. We used data and personalized training to achieve this. Our idea is to use that expertise to help break down cars and bikes in a way where it is easier for you to understand and know exactly what you have to look for when you come across these vehicles. If you have enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to let us know in the comment section. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more such insightful and detailed reviews. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, ride safe and Godspeed.